David Keith Lynch was truly a Renaissance man, most known for his filmmaking, but also a musician and a painter. I remember going to an art exhibition, and that is something that I almost never do, and the theme was Kafkaesque, honoring the famous Franz Kafka. Those who know the writer could guess it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but mostly depressing, dreamy-like stuff. And to my surprise, there was a whole section dedicated to David Lynch's paintings. Back then, I hadn't seen any of his movies, but I knew that he was a famous director and saw videos of him looking depressed and almost tired from the world. So when I read a quote next to one of his paintings that said, Franz Kafka was the only artist I truly understand it felt right. Now that I have the whole picture, I don't look at Lynch as a depressed person with a twisted mind, but as someone who truly loves cinema and brought something very personal to it. And this level of dedication to his vision is the reason that we know him as the man he was. After he passed away, I decided to watch all of his feature movies, excluding those related to Twin Peaks series, which I think is only one. And I also included a short film or a web series, I think it is called, Rabbits. I will now share some takeaways, naming every film in the order in which they were released. So, first of all, Eraserhead. I think it's a difficult thing to watch Eraserhead as a first film entering into someone's filmography. It was definitely a difficult start for me, and I think I gave up like 3 times in the beginning because nothing really happened. And the main character Henry didn't even finish going back to his apartment, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna watch an hour and a half of this, or I don't know how long the movie is. And the rest of the movie was like actually the same, you know. It didn't come as a surprise, but I always hoped that there would be something meaningful, which I later discovered doesn't necessarily happen in David Lynch's movies. Other than that, I think that Jack Nance gives an amazing performance as Henry, and David Lynch of course saw it too, which is the reason he was casted in some of his other movies, for example Dune, or he was somewhere else too. Maybe I'll remember. Oh, Blue Velvet. Yeah, but of course, it is an iconic introduction to one's filmography, and many people fell in love with David Lynch's work right from the beginning, and many people, of course, on the other hand, started to hate it. It was definitely creepy. I was scared all the time, despite watching it throughout the day. So it was like a sunny day, but every time there was a dark shot and someone going behind a corner, I immediately thought, oh my god, David Lynch is going to scare the shit out of me. And sometimes it happened, and sometimes it was just weird, you know. The baby wasn't that scary, it was just weird, burping out different kind of things out of its mouth. And also, I just didn't really understand the whole thing. Like, there was the lady in the radiator, there was the man pulling the lever. I'm sure David Lynch had some kind of dream and decided he wanted to put it into reality. And I think he was happy with it. I wasn't as happy with it as David Lynch was, I'm afraid. The neighbors are non-stop going to do this, huh? Never mind. So that's the Eraserhead, an iconic, but I think like kind of sometimes weird film that I didn't love, but I appreciate it because it kind of formed his personal touch to movies later on in his career. Next up is The Elephant Man. I saw this movie with a classmate of mine, and we were like, he's a fan of the Twin Peaks series, and I haven't seen any of it, but he always tells me like it doesn't make any sense. Like there's this crazy narrative going on, and people doing crazy shit, and I think he said that David Lynch plays a character who just like doesn't hear very well, and he shouts "what" every time someone tries to approach him. Uh, anyway, I said to him, "Yeah, I'm watching David Lynch's filmography, and you like the series, so we could like watch Elephant Man together. It's one of his most appreciated movies." And we sat down, we did it, and yeah, we both like shed a little tear. I think uh, uh, an incredibly sad movie, very touching, very raw performances by both John Hurt, Anthony Hopkins. Just overall very well crafted, like second movie, and you like that's your second movie, man. Like that's crazy. Like how are you doing this? Uh, I'm surprised like he wrote the screenplay because this is one of the most normal things I have seen from Lynch. Like there's no fucking mysterious dream that explains the whole thing or doesn't explain it, makes it even more frustrating for me to watch. No, it was just pure narrative, pure sadness, pure broken hearts. Yeah, but he collaborated with others on the screenplay, so I understand that. If it was up to him, it would be like whole different shit. Makeup is incredible, very very realistic, and there wasn't a moment in the movie where I was like, yeah, this isn't like where I was like this is a movie. I was really like watching a fragile human being try to make its way in this world, and I was very touched by it as my classmate was. So overall, amazingly crafted. Makeup is incredible, and both of his movies, the Eraserhead and the Elephant Man, grossed kind of a lot of money, which brings us to the next movie because the producers of Hollywood thought, oh, Lynch, everything he touches is gold, so we will give him so much fucking money. Frank Herbert's Dune, yeah, it will be crazy collaboration. Dreams are happening in that. He will have its way with it, and it was kind of a flop. Uh, yeah, from my perspective, because essentially my introduction to the Dune series was through Denis Villeneuve's movies, and I mean, if there's a like a trilogy, it's not a trilogy, but it will be a trilogy. If there's a trilogy like defining our generation as something as Lord of the Rings was defining the generation before us, Doom is that thing. Like, yeah, especially Doom Part Two, but Doom Part One is also like a masterpiece. So I was hesitant. I saw the reviews. I saw that one clip with the shit CGI when they're turning on their shields and fighting. And yeah, well, at the start I was kind of surprised uh, because the first hour, 2 hours are good. Like they're actually like decent. They're not great, but like they're funny. The scenes are well crafted. The makeup is good. Costumes are good. Performances are nice and interesting. And I think there's a humor all all throughout the movie. Uh, and So I was like, yeah, after 2 hours passed, I was like, why does this get that much hate as it gets? then I saw the third hour, and like it destroyed the whole experience for me. That third hour is so rushed. Essentially, the third hour is like the Dune Part 2 movie, plus a bunch of other things, but everything is rushed together, so it doesn't like come off as nice as it should. And I know that it is well known that David Lynch wasn't really happy with this film either. He said publicly that he lost creative control over it, and um, yeah, that it kind of wasn't his fault that the movie came out the way it did. But I read Quentin Tarantino's book, Cinema Speculation. In that book, there's a chapter where he describes the stereotype of a director makes a bad movie and then says, "Oh, big bad studio made me do it, and if it was my way, it'll be good." Yeah, and I think like that is the case. I don't think that it was as bad as he said, but that's just my opinion. I don't know what really happened, but I don't think that uh, I don't think that Lynch really is that director where it's all hits. Sometimes it's misses a lot, especially like in Inland Empire and stuff. I will get to that. So I think it was more like it was more his fault than I think he admitted that he was admitting himself. Yeah, I don't know. English is not my native language, so I'm sorry if I fucked that up. Uh, but yeah, what was funny was at first as I was viewing it, I was like, "Am I watching the right movie?" Because it said directed by Alan Smithy and written by Judas Booth, and later I discovered that those were the names, which were, or especially Alan Smithy. Judas Booth, I think, was basically Lynch's idea. Those were Alan Smithy is a name that a director chooses to place in the credits if he lost creative control over the movie. So that's that. And Judas Booth, I think it was, what was it? It was like a mixture between Judas from the Bible and the man who assassinated someone. I don't know. Just like name of traitors. So like big bad studio is a traitor, right? Yeah, but like the whole thing that I said that it's sometimes misses doesn't mean that it's always misses, especially with the next movie, Blue Velvet. That is my favorite David Lynch movie. I love basically everything about that movie. Kyle MacLachlan, I'm sorry if I fucked that up, and Laura Dern both deliver raw, romantic, amazing performances, which are like kind of adorable, cute in some ways. And every time I watch these interactions, I thought it will cross a border or like a boundary, and then it will start getting awkward. But it never did. I don't really know what to point out, like what saved it from being cringe and awkward, but it comes off as a nice, raw, really lovely relationship. And I think that David Lynch is good at doing that, and that he that this that creating like these goofy, like silly dialogues and making it come out as raw as it gets, that's just like his specialty. I don't think that anyone else could pull that off, and he really shines in this movie with his dialogue. This movie is standing narratively on both feet, which David Lynch, I think, if he did the whole time throughout his career, I would prefer his movies, but I understand that it was just his style and it was his personal choice. But like I like that it like was standing on both feet, and while still containing the symbolism, which and surrealism, which he's known for. Uh, I love many parts of that movie. My favorite part of the movie is the best running gag ever in any movie, and that is the that is the radio man having this having this iconic line that he's announcing the time, and before he does it, every time he says, "And with the sound of a falling tree, the tree falls," and he tells the time. And it's funny because the town's name is Lumberton. The dialogue is great, as I said. I see the resemblance in Wild at Heart, which I will get to right after. Uh, and yeah, amazing villain Frank, played by the amazing Dennis Hopper. Uh, the performance made me think of what's his name in Leon the Professional. The famous film. What was his name? No, fuck it. I'm gonna Google it. Gary Oldman. I didn't Google it. Gary Oldman. Mm-mm-mm. And that villain is kind of like just going crazy, and we don't really know his backstory or anything, but we don't really have to. We just know that he has some money issues. He's going crazy batshit with the drugs, and that's fucking up his brain. And it just makes a great villain, and it's great, especially when he does that shitty fucking shit, like beats the woman in Blue Velvet, played by Isabella Rossellini. Like, throughout the whole movie, we don't have any compassion for him. We don't like him at any time. That's good sometimes, we don't have to have this crazy sad backstory which explains why the villain is doing everything. Sometimes you just want to go crazy with the villain and make the main guy stop him in the end, which happened. It was a happy ending. Great thing, Lynch. Great thing. Did we have a happy ending before? Razorhead, no. Elephant Man, no. Dune is kind of happy ending, but it's crazy in the end, so it doesn't count. So first happy ending. Wild at Heart. That is my first Lynch movie that I saw. I saw it because I was applying to film school, and that is the Lynch movie they chose to put on the list, which I don't know if I think that's a great idea. I think that if you really want to get into his filmography, or like show someone a movie, show a movie to someone from David Lynch and they haven't seen any movies, as much as I don't like it, Eraserhead is the way to go. But I saw Wild at Heart, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I saw many weird movies watching through that list that the school gave me. But Wild at Heart was one of the weirdest ones. Because I wasn't familiar with the David Lynch style, I didn't know what was going on with the dialogue. And like, as I said in Blue Velvet, it was goofy, silly, still made sense. Didn't understand that. And while I wrote my review of it, essentially, in the end, I wrote, this is one of those movies that when I come back to, I'm either going to love or hate. But I think I love it. That's what I wrote. And yeah, definitely when I will rewatch this shit, this will be a movie I will really, really like. All the characters are amazing. Nicolas Cage. Everyone is hating on Nicolas Cage. Why? He's a great actor. I saw someone on Letterboxd write, that's the worst and best actor at the same time. No, he's just a great actor. I don't get it. He was great in Lord of War, I think was the name. and he's great in this. Amazing performance. Also, Laura Dern again, Lula. Uh, Incredible facial features. Facial features, but also expressions. Expressions is what I meant to say, but no features too. But my favorite character in the movie is Bobby Peru. Like when Willem Dafoe comes out of nowhere and just says, "Yeah, my name's Bobby Peru, like the country, baby." That's just one of the most iconic name drops of all time. Yeah. So the story is interesting. It's kind of goofy, but I like it. You know, it's the David Lynch good goofy style. And just before, as I said, it was my first David Lynch movie. So when the evil witch and the good witch were like appearing throughout the film, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" But I think that when I'll come back to it, I will enjoy it. I will laugh at it. And there's some worse shit, even worse CGI happening in other Lynch's movies. So it's not that bad actually. But like, it's essentially a movie about a girl wanting her boyfriend, a girl who wants her boyfriend to sing "Love Me Tender" to her. Like throughout the whole film, that's just what the movie's about. That's just what it is. She wants him to fall in love with her completely, and at the end, he just goes with it. He refuses to accept any rational advice that the people or the uh, situation around him suggests, and he just loves her and sings to her "Love Me Tender," and that's amazing. Also, one of the best shots of all time, when Lula tells Sailor she's pregnant, and he just lights up two cigars at one time and smokes them. Amazing. Lost Highway. Saw this with my girlfriend. The story behind this is I was watching Lost Highway by my own. My girlfriend calls me. She says, "What are you watching?" And I was 40 minutes in. So if you've seen the movie, I described 40 minutes. She was like, "Oh my god, it's really interesting." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." She was like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you watching these good movies alone? Like, just wait for me." I was like, "Okay, I love you. I will wait for you." I waited for her. We watched the movie together. We get to the 40 minutes part. Everything's good. Everything is exciting. Like the whole mystery of the envelope appearing in front of the house. And suddenly, like, it just goes like completely sideways. Like, I didn't understand, I think, any of it. But that's a movie that scared the shit out of me. Whew, that one, like, talking of bad CGI, but that one scene when the guy had a dream and he turns to his lady in the bed, and there's this crazy man's face instead of hers. I jumped out of my chair when I saw that. It was just crazy. And that man is really crazy. I wonder, like, what's the actor's name? And I wonder if he's that scary in real life too. Like, his friends and like his family must be scared of him. Damn, what a scary man. So as I said at the start, it was really interesting. But this was one of the movies that I really liked. Like even the mystery, because it is explainable. You know, there I saw this theory when it was essentially a man who committed a great crime and essentially went crazy and had this. He created this reality in his head when he kind of wanted to explain, like not explain, but like he wanted to create a reality in which he could live with himself, and I think I understand that after I read that. I didn't understand it throughout the film, but that's a regular thing with David Lynch's films sometimes. The two cops are funny as hell. David Lynch's comedy is funny. Yeah, I don't care what anyone says. He was a crazy funny man, and what I really liked about this movie, what's standing out to me, was the use of space, like the whole house is iconic, but especially the living room. The curtains next to the living room are like so interestingly filmed that you get the sense that they play an important part, that they're like their own character in the movie. And every time you see them, you kind of get scared. You're on the watch, like something's going to happen, because we know we are moving into the living room, and in the living room, that's where the crazy shit happens. Uh, that's where unknown men appear on women's faces. That's where people get killed, people get filmed, as we know, and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's interesting. Really, the curtains were an amazing thing that happened in the movie. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for the Lost Highway. Oh, the shots filming the road while someone is driving. That's amazing. And David Bowie playing in the background. Great combination. So the Straight Story. This is the only movie that Lynch didn't write a script for, and it shows. It's completely normal. There's no dark side of it. It's just a man who decided that he wanted to see his brother after a heart attack, and instead of a car, he drives to him on a lawnmower. Yeah, played by the I don't remember the guy's name, but he was played by the great, or the straight, Alvin Straight, of course. That's his name. That's the name of the fucking movie. He was played by Richard Farnsworth, and I read later that that guy had, I don't know if it was cancer, but it was a dying disease. He had that during filming. So after the movie was done, he basically died right away, which is, I mean, I didn't think that movie could get any sadder, and it did after I watched it. Just an amazingly sweet movie, crazy moving story, and that it's based on a real thing. Wow, like amazing. Great comedy. You know what you got that grabber for, grabbing. Amazing. And but there are also some sad quotes, like I remember that some young guy asks Mr. Straight, "What's the worst part about getting older?" And he says that the worst part about getting older is remembering when you were young, and that kind of hit me, as one of those. One of those. It hits you like one of those conversations you have with your grandparents, like when there's a chance. When you're talking about life, with them sometimes. If you don't do that, you should do that. I do that sometimes. Maybe I should do it more often. They're so wise, those old people. So yeah, I was crying in the end of the movie. Uh, Amazing drama, amazing story. You know, this movie is the lens. Fuck. This movie is not really like a Lynch style movie, but so you don't really get the sense that he made the movie, even though you can kind of see through some of it, like for example the comedy, some of the shots maybe, but just an amazing movie, lovely. Okay, we're getting to Mulholland Drive. That's the movie that many people call his magnum opus. I think he won the Cannes award for best director, and yeah, like he should have. It's a great direction in this movie. Throughout the whole movie, I thought it was a legit detective story. I don't know how I could get through all of his filmography, like watch his magnum opus, and still think like, yeah, maybe in this movie, Like, it's not dreams, it's not surrealism, it's not ideas like that don't really make sense. Maybe it's just a good detective story. And I really thought that until the end. Of course, when you figured out that it's not kind of a detective story and there's this whole idea, this whole theory behind it that basically the main girl, what's her name? I don't know, the girl played by Naomi Watts is an imagination of the real girl, because she basically fell in love with the actress, and then the actress kind of cheated on her and kissed with many rich people on this rich Hollywood party. So it was just all kind of going through her head. But yeah, still amazing direction, definitely, and terrifying direction. And those, there are many times, like, Lynch is very amazing at creating like a scary atmosphere without really doing the stereotypical horror type shit where it's just all jump scares. No, there's so much suspense. There's so many great shots that are capturing darkness and uncertainty, and corners, and the characters getting closer to the corner, and you don't know if something will be behind it or not, because sometimes there's nothing there. It's just darkness, and people come out, nothing happens. And this way of working with light and dark, it's just something that David Lynch is great at, and that is building suspense throughout the whole film. So Naomi Watts is, I think, is the highlight of this film, especially in that audition scene, which is of course like an imagination of the failed actress. She's imagining an audition that would go amazingly, and it did went amazingly. Like, that whole scene is amazing, and exceptional surrealism throughout. I think this, like, I didn't really mind the surrealism in this film. I actually really enjoyed the whole side story with the man having a nightmare, going to the restaurant, telling the other man, and just they both go around the corner to see if the nightmare is true, if it's real, just because he's scared. So yeah, definitely, I don't have a problem with people saying that this is their favorite Lynch film or favorite movie of all time. I totally get it. Great direction, great everything. Also great comedy. I want to mention one thing. The scene when the director meets the cowboy. Everything about that scene is amazing. Like when they meet, and this guy is literally wearing a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and he just says howdy, and the director says howdy to you. Yeah. So, great movie. I said at the beginning, I watch every feature film except of the one Twin Peaks film, but I watched Rabbits. What the fuck is Rabbits? Like, what the fuck is Rabbits, man? I watched this movie with my girlfriend too, and I think she will break up with me, like, just because of it. It's just rabbits talking shit, nonsense, in one room. Wait, that's not it. Oh, something interesting happens. Yeah. Sometimes the mother goes satanistic, brings out these candles. There's this devil that appears in the room and starts saying something crazy. Or sometimes there's a fucking a hole in the wall, flaming with fire. That's it, basically. There are some theories explaining the film, as if like the rabbits are trapped in a cage, and their behavior is based on their idea of humans. Like, they see them as these. They don't see them as humans, but as tall rabbits, and they kind of essentially don't understand their the words they're speaking, the meaning of it, but they understand the emotions and stuff like that, or that it's like this whole party of a sitcom. I don't fucking know, man. I didn't like it. It was 40 minutes of torture. The only thing I liked about it was every time the rabbit in a suit walked in the room, the fake audience started like applauding. That was the great part. I applauded too, and I laughed. So maybe I'm glad I watched it. Okay, for the rabbit in the suit. And also for yellow saliva. I like that line, yellow saliva. Yeah. So, Inland Empire, a movie made in 2006. That is when I was born. And I watched this movie today. I finished it today. And the only explanation for this movie is that I think Lynch wanted to see some titties for the last time. Because like there's this girl who she shows her titties to her friends, and like that's the part I remember. That's the part that makes sense. Everything else is kind of this fog of mystery. I'm not really the like a whole fan of the Sony Handycam cinematography performed by David Lynch. Didn't really like it. No. And those are 3 hours of my life I will never get back. It started out like every Lynch movie, you know. Something normal happens, you kind of think it will go this way, and it goes that way, then it goes sideways, backwards, forward. Doesn't matter. It's just I think I like genuinely didn't like this movie. I think that is his worst movie. I think Rabbits are better than this. That's saying a lot. Rabbits are better than Inland Empire. More entertaining. Rabbits were actually in Inland Empire, so maybe I'm glad I watched it because of that. And yeah. Also, why was Terry Crews in this? Can someone explain? Like, what? Weird cameo. And the fact that the fans still like this is extraordinary to me. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I'm hating a lot. It's in the end, it's just my opinion. Someone may love David Lynch exactly for this type of shit, and this is just their thing that they love, that they like, that they go for in movies. It's not personally my favorite stuff, but still, looking at the movie, I think that by itself it has some like interesting parts. It has some interesting dialogues, but like when you mix it up with the rest of the movie, it fades away. Like when you surround the scenes themselves by wall and like look at the dialogue, it's interesting. But then in the whole scheme of things, it's just mumbling words, I think. But when I'm looking at like the filmography of this man, I think it's actually like really solid. I didn't really like Eraserhead, but that's an iconic film. Like that's something that should have been made. Like I'm glad that movie exists. You know, Inland Empire, on the other hand, didn't have to be made. Really, I don't think there's anything that movie brings to anything. But of course, I'm glad I did this, and David Lynch was truly a remarkable filmmaker in the way that he really didn't give a shit. He just wanted to go his own personal way, and that is something that we have to learn from. That is something that people like me who like in the future hopefully want to make movies, or people who just like watching movies, or people who just do anything in life, you know, do things your own way. Because if you just do things like other people, you will get lost in in the millions, in the billions, and you know, you won't create anything special. And David Lynch certainly did. Uh, David Lynch certainly did. I'm happy I did this. I truly respect this man. I admire his work, even though I didn't like some of his movies. Some, on the other hand, he has amazing movies. I have a lot to learn from him still, and I will gladly come back to many of these works of art. So that was David Lynch. That was the first episode of The Basement. Doing this basically mainly to talk about movies, which I love, and to practice my English. So thank you for listening and watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.